So, Mr. Kierran Stevenson, how you doing, my friend?
I'm really good, mate. I'm really, really good.
So we chatted last June, June 2020. I think that was the height of fear, wasn't it? That was pretty much the height of the lockdowns, the media spin. You were almost for a day or two like public enemy number one in the UK. We made it in a few newspapers, I think the Sun, the Mirror, um, local. I think even some national TV things you got on.
BBC, I think,
Oh, even
ITV,
even the old Beeb on the Beeb, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So,
Australia, Malaysia,
oh, global, global.
yeah,
I didn't know it went global.
and Canada.
Oh, really? So pretty
Yeah,
much around, pretty much around the world. It's a
yeah.
lot of things have changed since then. I think when you speak to people now, I think a lot of perceptions maybe have changed. How do you feel with that? Like, especially when I read the original Facebook post, there was a lot of people almost out for blood in it, sort of saying, you're out there killing people. You need to, wind your neck in almost. Do you feel that the public perception on that has changed?
Uh, it couldn't be more contradictory if you tried.
We
It's
should
gone
probably
from
actually, for people that maybe don't know about you, we'll just touch base on what originally actually happened. Do you want to just give a brief? Obviously, some people would have seen the original interview. What happened at the hospital and what happened, the controversy on Facebook, and then your subsequent arrest and imprisonment, really.
well, figured out coronavirus is a pandemic. Decided to go and put my money where my mouth is. Going out to walk around the hospital, took various pictures and videos on Snapchat, posted them, and then it all come tumbling down. I should say it just
Yeah.
went mad. Yeah, people went crazy, even those closest to me. Um, yeah, it was
Do you feel that public perception has changed now? Because just out of
complete.
my own, like, anecdotal circle, like people at work now, even through all the mask stuff, no one was wearing masks. I think it's almost one of these things that people want to be like sort of do the virtue signaling. They're on social media. Oh, I'm wearing a mask, and we have old people working there, young people working there. No one's particularly vulnerable, but we
Yeah,
honestly we're up, really close to each other at work, and no one wears a mask. So it's almost like I think people maybe want to perceive to be virtuous on Facebook, but when it comes to real life, or maybe it's just worn away. Do you think people these days, or in the last, say this year, 2021, is it different to 2020? Well, basically, if you'd done what you did then, now, do you think it would be the same? Do you think the public reaction would be the same, or do you think it'll just be just a storm in a teacup? No one would even
no one would
take.
blink an eye. No
Yeah,
one would
that's what I
blink
think.
an eye. No one gives a damn. It's like
Yeah,
people who were wearing masks were like here anyway, and their
yeah.
nose is
I
out.
wasn't
They didn't
knows that. Yeah.
actually wear the mask, and it was just, I'm wearing a mask. I'm ticking that box, but you're not wearing it for what it was for. The whole reason you were wearing it. It's all right ticking boxes, but wasn't it your health at risk here first and foremost? Um, yeah,
So you
it's just
think you
crazy.
think if it happened now, then it wouldn't even there wouldn't be a social media. Do you think you'd even been arrested? Do you think they would
No,
have still?
definitely not.
Yeah,
Definitely not. It was just because it was so explosive and against the grain.
yeah. It was
And people,
almost. I feel like they did definitely want to make an example out of you, and there were a few other people similar to yourself that had the book thrown at them. To be honest, a lot of the things in courts were overturned. I've been hearing all these £10,000 fines for someone doing a rave and keeping a gym open. From what I've heard, they've all just been thrown out by the judges because they're like, you can't fine someone 10 grand, which to an average person, it's a big whack of money for,
it's about a year's wage for some
yeah,
people, isn't it?
for letting people use your gym. It's crazy, isn't it?
It is totally contradictory to what they're on
Yeah.
about. It's all supposed to be for your health and therefore, stopping you being healthy. Oh,
Yeah.
but the off license was still open. That's all that mattered.
Yeah. I think it was the bread and circus thing that as long as the people had alcohol, Coronation Street's on TV. The football was obviously off for a bit, but they brought that back in. A lot of people are when the football's back in, everything will be all right. It's just they wanted to keep that drip feeding you enough alcohol, enough drugs. The drugs dealers never stop. Cannabis, if anything, is through the roof.
Exactly.
What else is there to? Yeah, it's the. But for your own health, how have you coped with it? Because obviously it's going into prison, being vilified. You say around the world.
Yeah.
How did you? Have you had any negative effects from what's actually happened here?
It's funny because I expected a bit from from the fallout online, but there wasn't much.
Mm.
To be fair, a lot of the people, even close friends who were against it, kind of got a hold of me and said, you know what, we kind of seen what it's about. What you done wasn't right at the time. That's because they were scared and it was different and it was like, out of the blocks too fast, head above the parapet. But they all agree. They all know. I think the majority do know. I think they've
Yeah.
always known, but it's always about staying with the herd and and holding back, and not
But
having
there's
the.
there's something quite just liberating almost about spreading the truth. Obviously, because this is your story, but after the first interview or even before it, I was telling people I've got this guy messaging him. He's a bit controversial. Oh, don't put that on your YouTube channel because you'll either get taken down, you get demonetized. Well, that video's never monetized anyway, or you'll just be pinged. I'm like, maybe you're right, but after doing that interview with you, it was like it's almost a feeling of a mild euphoria. Like, no, I feel like I've done the right thing here. I've obviously I don't want to take anything away from you, but
No, it's
you're
good.
the main story. But even just by helping you shed light on it, I was just it's like a weight that had been lifted. For a day before, I was like, maybe it's not the right thing. 'Cause if they just delete my YouTube channel, that's like, you know, all that work down the pan, really. But I think sometimes when you do the right thing, it just you
I
just
think
get a spiritual kind of uplift from it.
I think, yeah, like you said, like at the end of the day, there are always two sides to the story, and not only was there two sides, it was never heard what my side of the story was, and it was only because from the moment I first got arrested and everything, I said everything I did and wore it on my sleeve like my heart, and because I done that, it was theirs to manipulate. So I really couldn't say it fresh from my side out into the open. It was Kieran said this, but he's gone into court, and now this is what we made of what he said, and then that was released. And so, I think for any natural human or person, it would seem like quite refreshing in order to get both sides to know, there was a reason and there was a mindset behind it, and none of it was for myself, and it was for everyone. And I think in order to be a part of that must feel quite enlightening and yeah, quite joyful. To be fair, it was good.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel that you have been like a victim of the system, or are you remaining that it's just something that happened and it's happened? Do you feel victimized by it, or
Um,
because there's a thing like in like UK culture of like whistleblowing? A lot of people are always afraid, whatever the industry is, whether it's the NHS, whether it's civil servants. It's one of those things that if you stick your head above the parapet, they do come after that. Not just the wider problem itself. They'll come after the person that has highlighted it, whether that's on a camera phone, whether that's submitting a letter to someone, to an MP. They come after the individual rather than looking at the wider issue itself.
I think at first it was looking like that. At first it was looking like I was out on my own, but like slowly but surely we found it, and there's a hell of a lot of people on this side of the argument now, and it's reassuring, and it's also like it gave me a chance in the end, like because I wasn't all for it, all ego. I didn't want to do what I done, and then have my own live shows all the time, and then have like reporting people, and then keep running off and have my own Telegram group, and because it was all too consuming, and it was less about what I'd done, but more about trying to tell people have a look at this yourself and realize yourself that you can see that this doesn't work out. Don't keep looking at me like I've got the answers because I ain't no messiah or guru. I'm just one who says, right, something's not going on. but now you need to work that out, and together we can work out that we're having our pants pulled down, and together we can do something about it. In that respect, when everyone else started coming up, it kind of gave me a chance to kind of sit back a little bit and go and breathe for a little bit, because it did feel like I was like, out in front a little bit. And it wasn't so much the negative energy, it was like there's so much the pressure to keep, like, people would send me links on links and links and links and this and that and this and that, and obviously it's all relevant, and I was grateful for it all. I was also very much aware of everything they were showing me anyway, and very
Yeah.
much on top of everything, and it was just repeating, and it was just constant going over what I'd already known, what I'd already seen, what I'd already worked out. Now they got numbers and it's like statistically backed, and I was like, well, I've already, and it was, yeah, it's a bit repetitive, but that's what you expect when you toe the line and you're waiting for the rest, and I wasn't going to be one and go, oh, seen that, don't worry, don't send it, seen that, don't worry. I'd try and like carry it on, and and keep it rolling with everyone else. But it was also funny because we also tried doing a few stand up Aylesbury, stand up, and a little few gigs here and there, close, local. And then when I realised that there were like 10, 20, 30 people, and I was thinking, I know that there's 160,000 in Aylesbury Vale, there's 90,000 in Aylesbury. I know a good 85% of them know it's bullshit. And I know a good 65% of them are being effective. And I know like 50% of them are on furlough right now and doing cool. So they can definitely come down here. And I know I've got a good 30% of them who are loyal to the cause. They should definitely be here. And I was just like, wow.
But but I think with the furlough as well was a big like perversion in the fact that you're incentivizing people not really to say too much, are you? Because I worked throughout the whole pandemic, but I know there's some people that have been off nearly a whole year now in certain. There's a hotel near me that's been closed solid since March, and I know a few people then they've just been off the whole time. So it's a difficult one. They've kind of almost bought at least a subsection of the population.
I had a theory about this, and what it was is I'm self-employed. I'm a scaffolder. I was an actor before all of this happened. Saying that, I've been asked for quite a few, but they want me to do 2 COVID tests, and they'll pay for me for 5 days isolation in a hotel room. I am not doing that for love nor money. But anyway, what I kind of worked out with was being like self-employed and a scaffolder, you get self-employment grants. Now, I worked out with them grants, a scaffolder, a labourer, a bricklayer, we are the most dominant, masculine, biggest demographic there are. So if anyone's going to go and twist that stuff up, it's going to be us. So what better than to pay all these loose fucking alcohol-loving, laborious people $4,000 every 3 months. I thought, what better? Because like now we all think, well, I've had plenty of mates who go, lockdown? I've won over lockdown. I've had more money this lockdown than anything. And that's because they worked both. They've done their job, even if it was 4 days a week, when it was really tight, to, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days a week, plus the grants. It was like they were bought off. And then it swings me back to there was that gym up north, and they held it open, they got fined, they held it open, then he got took to court, and he had everything going for his argument, except for the fact is they went, but you took a grant, and he goes, well, yeah. So they go, right, there you go, you played the game. So now you cannot say that like this is unlawful. You cannot say that what we done is, wrong, because you played the game. You took the grant.
Yeah, so it's either you have to be on their team or your own team. Is that why you would never do the 2 COVID tests for the acting then? Because it's just you have to draw the line in the sand at some point that you either comply and you're in their hierarchy, or you're outside the umbrella and you
I
just have to
also
go it
know
alone.
from like 8 years of being on film sets that they say this happens in Hollywood. I don't want to get too conspiratorial, but you know when you sell the soul to the devil and you'll do anything just for that one line, just for that
The
one.
Hollywood thing is pretty weird. How they're all, well, there's a few outliers there, but like the majority of Hollywood actors all have the same political philosophy. Whether that's they all genuinely believe that, or you just have to say those things if you ever want to work there. But it's pretty weird, and it's just all the philosophy through Hollywood is the same everywhere, isn't it? That
They all like just bend over to the highest payoff, really.
you
So
think
yeah,
that's what it is. You think they just yeah, they
well,
just have to do it for money. You just have to.
well, this is it. But the thing is, like I know when I was with when I was doing my film with my group and my level, we they would do anything for that extra featured role. They'll do anything for that one line. They'll do, and then to know that we're already lowest of the pecking order, and like they'll already like sell their soul for just a flick past the camera, then you know that they've got them in their pocket, really. And so then they go, right, we used to sit in a tent where there'd be about 20 of us, and, you know, on Wonder Woman, you'll have Gal Gadot over here, and the directors, and the studio in the middle. And every so often we'd get up and we'd walk around the set and have a look, mingle, go get food and stuff. And you could imagine right now, it's like, wear a mask, 5 foot away from your next person, in a tent on the opposite side of the studio, away from there. Can't talk. The mask, you'll be getting watched at like a little petulant child in school. Your mask has slipped. You know, and
Yeah.
then that's make or break whether you even get like to go on set. You know, because it's very it's very clicky and touchy. If you can like rub up one person the wrong way, you could be sat there for 14 hours doing nothing. Now, 14 hours doing nothing, reading your book, being with your mates in a little tent is okay. But 14 hours doing nothing, wearing a mask, five
Yeah,
foot away
sitting
from your
on your own.
friends, I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
It's like there was a bit of an excitement when you went filming, knowing that you could probably do nothing for 85% of the time. But you was excited because you was there with people and you could do stuff and you could kind of experience it. To be sat there like that, I don't think I could do it at all. And then not just that, like to know that my numbers are there to push that lie even more so. I'm not about that. Like I will not help them forge up them numbers any which way it can.
Yeah. Do you feel like you'll be able to get back into the acting stuff? Hopefully, once all this is finally blown away, or do you feel are you sort of they know about you at all, or have you sort of slipped under the radar with your
I
name?
I still get availability inquiries here and there. I've still had a few um, quite a few big films, but I've just declined them as such. And like, I know if I carry on that they'll slowly drift out. I always wanted to try and like step up as well a little bit. So I think in that area that was probably coming to an end anyway. Because
Yeah, so it's kind of the push that maybe needs to take the next step up.
yeah, yeah, I think so. But then once again, like if that's what if I needed to follow the set narrative and be a sheep, sorry for those words, it's very sleeper, and that meant like going back into the films, I couldn't do it. I couldn't sacrifice my stand. Not the stand. It's not ego or pride or such. It's more I got morals, and I know that like you know if I hold my ground, I hold fast. It gives someone else the chance to push their you know their will and their needs and their mindset. It gives them, you know,
Yeah, someone else can step into your shoes then on
yeah,
the set, and you can move up to the next point of
that's
your
it.
career. Yeah. So overall, do you feel this been a positive or a negative than everything that's happened to you over the last year?
I'd definitely say it's positive, and I wouldn't say positive for me really. I've kind of had like a really mad year. It's gone up, it's gone down. Mental health has been crazy.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that people are talking about it, but not at any level that, because you can just look at all the even the animal behavior experiments. If you lock a rat or a monkey up or a lion or anything in a cage for just an indefinite amount of time, it's going to
Yeah,
break at some point. And obviously humans have the most advanced brain out of all the animals, so you should probably expect the biggest snap.
yeah.
I'm surprised, if anything, like things aren't actually any worse than they are. Well, at least we haven't seen it. It's not been reported yet anyway.
Well, this is
But it
it.
seems like a crisis in the making.
I think they're keeping that stuff under lockdown. I think they're being very tight on what gets released because, you have number crunchers for the fake positives. You've got number crunches, for how many deaths, and then no one ever wants to give you the details on anything else. And it's amazing, but it's pseudoscience, as it were. It's what suits them, whatever sells their agenda, their narrative. And if it doesn't go for their argument, then they're not going to highlight it at all. And I think that's where it got to. Like with the last few months, I think with everything becoming so apparent, even though there was a more long-term plan or objective, they realised that the public weren't feeling it no more. And as a mass, we were acquiescing, but there was always going to be that little straw that broke the camel's back.
It does seem like the government did this before COVID, but they sort of do little tests. They'll push a bit, see the reaction, and if people bite back, then they'll all right. We'll try that again in a year's time or 2 years'
Yeah,
time. I think if anything, I think they're well, Sage and all those groups said they were so surprised that people complied as much as they did. This was even when back in February and March when there's all those videos coming out of China of people just seizuring on the floor and dying, which are obviously either manufactured or someone just having an epileptic fit that was spun as COVID-19. But yeah, they'll drop those little things. But yeah, Sage, they were so surprised. They were saying something like they expected like 30% or 40% of people just to not comply with any of the rules at all. And I think the government was shocked, weren't they, when the majority of people
I
just
think what you need to think, I've done this film in about a year and a half before COVID come out, and it was Gangs of London. And I remember being told that we were part of this Danish gang, and we were told to wear the mask, keep putting the mask on. And then you think about Snapchat, mask filters. Then you think of ITV, the masked singer. So we were indoctrinated and made to feel like it was normal. So at the start, it happened before will.i.am come out of his little fucking, his little wizardry mask. It was a fashion craze. And you had like the Nikes, the Adidas, the Gucci's who were making these masks. And it was like, they're for your health, but look, you can have a Gucci mask. And then, completely, then it become a different aspect, and it was just like, oh, but they're cool. My little boy thought they were cool. Okay, they're cool. And I was trying to express it to him. I was trying to get it through to him. But nothing was going to tell this boy who's just turned year 7, just gone into secondary school, that he shouldn't wear it. And you don't have to. And I'll give you an exemption. Because it was a fashion accessory and he was going to fit in whether I liked it or not. And yeah, that's where it come down to. And it's like, it then come down to the fact is, in between lockdown when it opened up for a little bit, the pubs did.
yeah.
I remember popping into a pub and it was a horrible experience, man. Like, I didn't have a mask, they had a mask, but you'd go in, wear a mask, sit down, take it off, inside these plastic perspex cubicles. Then you had to raise your hand for a drink. Couldn't speak to no one on a different table. Couldn't speak to anyone across the room. So if your mates are there, you wouldn't know because there were just 2 of you in that cubicle. I found a glitch in the Matrix though. Usually they put your name down a number where you are so they can have a certain capacity. Well, if you go
Okay.
to the fruit machine, then you're not actually given an allocated seat.
All right.
So you're actually a glitch in the Matrix. So if
Yeah,
you get
you don't
100
even
people,
exist if you're on the
yeah,
fruity. Yeah,
yeah. So if you get 100 people in there, all go to the fruit machine, and you just like broken the system.
yeah,
But yeah, that itself, it was like, how can people be okay with this? And how can you think that you might catch COVID walking across the dance floor, but as soon as you sit down, COVID's not going to come and get you? What, like, where does this like use your brain? Like, how does this like? And if you know it's not right, why are you still going along with it? Why have you been okay for you to go? It doesn't make sense, but I'll do it.
yeah,
It just blew my mind, and this is where it got to. It's like, it's not that you're like being a troublemaker as such. It's that you know that something is not right. Something is not only not right, but it's harmful to your health. You know, like, not only did I know that masks, even the best N64 version, N95, I think it is N94. I'm not sure. Even that one, yeah. Not only did it not suppress or stop the transmission, but it did suppress your oxygen intake and your carbon dioxide outtake. So at the end of the day, it was not only doing what it was supposed to do, but it was stopping you doing what you naturally should do anyway. And it
yeah.
was like, well, why are we going along with this? Like, I said to a mate, I said, you wear yours 6 hours a day through work. I've smoked cigarettes for about 20 years. I guarantee a year after you wearing that mask, I would still beat you in a 100-meter sprint. And I'll tell you why, because that slowly intake, your intake's getting less and less and less, only minuscule amounts, but it adds up. And I'll tell you what, if you don't have a pneumococcal or bronchial problem come by it next year or the year after, then, shiver me timbers, shock me down. Because I know for a fact that there'll be knock-on effects from that.
But the mask is symbolic because everybody I know has either got like a little cloth one or one of those blue ones. It's whacked in their back pocket, all like grubby. They'll wear it for, months on end. And you think that's disease ridden. That's probably got, if you swab that and put in a little petri dish and see what grew out of that, it's not going to be good, is it? But they know it's nonsense because the only way to do is have like a sterilized one, wash your hands or put gloves on, then you put it on, then you don't touch it. No one's doing that. So it's only submission to the rules. It's only symbolic. I'm going to put this on just because, they'll leave me alone if I put this on, isn't it? That there's no one actually. Well, there's probably a few people out there, but most people under about 60 are just whacking that thing on because it just keeps their head down, and the security guard at co-op doesn't bother them. That's the only reason there.
I've seen people go to the shop and then be like, oh, and then happily get in their car and drive 10 fucking miles back, to go and get something.
Yeah,
I'm like, just say you're exempt. Just say it. Just walk in, say it. If you like, I've seen people do that and hold
yeah,
themselves, and it's a high vis. They've been on a building site
yeah.
for about
Breathing
eight
a load of
hours.
asbestos or something through
And
there. Yeah,
what is this about? Help me!
yeah.
Mad.
Well, what do you think the future is then? Are you like a optimistic for the future? Where does the UK, where does the world, where do you see us in 5, 10 years time? Because I think we're at a real crossroads now. It seems like people have happily surrendered their freedoms, and if you surrender your freedoms, it's a lot harder to get them back than it
Yeah.
is to give them up. It's easy to give stuff away. It's not easy to get it back. All throughout history, history's littered with people that, or I'll just give up this, I'll give up my freedoms for a little bit, but Boris will give it to me back. It's throughout history, it's never worked like that. But will it work this time? Are you optimistic on either the government or the people to take things back,
To
or
be
is it a bit
fair,
dystopian?
it's like you said, we are at a crossroads, and it's not one that we've all already predicted, because as it goes with all these like theories and as such, and like these assumptions and what we predict, and that they always test the public to see what they can and what they can't do, and to see how far it goes, and then to pull it back if we look like we're going against the grain. Like, for instance, I remember about a month ago when they had the march in London, and there was over 110,000, and the police were just defending. They had a little line around the Scotland Yard and Westminster. From that moment, I went, you know what? The shoe's on the other foot now, and I think they've realised. And so, with that, going back to your question, it is kind of like an open road at the moment, and I think that although they got a lot of things done and they did like lock us up and they did take a lot of our freedoms back, I think they might go back, because even that third wave that they've been leaking, that might happen, ironically. I think even that now would wear thin, and I don't think anyone would really jump on board. I think what they're going to do is slowly drip feed us into normality, and I think maybe another 10 years they'll probably try this again times 10, maybe a proper contagion this time, something that might be, worth hiding out. There's something called the Georgia Guidestones, and one of the commandments on it is to keep humanity in perpetual balance of nature at 500 million. So that is a goal of 85%. Obviously, cigarettes, McDonald's, alcohol, and the like hasn't been doing it fast enough. Whether that means there needs to be another outbreak of some sort, I don't know. But as it goes,
I think any future outbreak, it could go either way. People may sort of say, "Oh, it's another pandemic. Let's all comply." Or say one happened in 2 years' time, like a real sort of deadly one where it's killing like 10% of people. They'll think, "Oh, we did that back in 2020. I'm not doing it again." So you've had the one that's like a mild illness that kills people. The average age of death is like 82. Say you have one that's killing 20-year-olds. They go, "Oh, I'm not doing that again. I'm not wearing that mask. I'm not doing all that nonsense again." So it's almost like the boy that cries wolf, isn't it? It's when a deadly one comes along, have you fired all your bullets, or will something come along and we just fall back to where we are now? It's just a psychological experiment, isn't it? We've not done this before. Who knows how it? I don't think anybody really knows what it's going to look like if and when the next one pops along.
I think you're right, though. A lot of people will be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And sod's law, what'll happen? Like myself, I've always thought, though, like with anything, humans are good and adapting and overcome. So this is what I said to even people who took the vaccine. It has mRNA, protein inhibitor, but on that, in that respect, even if they've had that and they've got a good mindset and knowledge is power and they know about it, they can adapt and overcome. It doesn't mean they'll get rid of the mRNA, but they can make do and evolve with it in them. Certain people will have like an effect to it and it will hurt them or react differently, but the majority will then soon to adapt and evolve with it. So it's like humans, like in now for future and for time immemorial, whatever comes and goes, there's always going to be a certain aspect of the population that it doesn't affect, and we get bigger, better, and stronger, as it were. But I don't know, like we've all been too lazy, too comfortable, and had everything given to us for too long, and there was only going to be a time when that bit us in the arse. And hopefully, like, all them memes, like with that woman, big woman, really rotund.
Oh, yeah.
And she's got a mask and she's like, "Where for my health?" And it's like,
carrying the McDonald's and the, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think this might have been a good time for people to go, you know what? Let's sort out where we are at. How can we like start complaining about this if we haven't like checked our own doorstep? Even for myself, I've been blowing the candle at both ends every now and then myself. I think that's just boredom. But
it does seem like they're almost pushing it a bit too far. Like if they had just sort of left it be after Christmas time, like a couple of lockdowns, people have complied, let's just go back to normal. Because they're extending it so far, I think people are thinking more and more, if they just sort of left it, I think for the establishment, for the powers that be, that would almost been a better play. We obviously never know what the people that the government and people that pull the strings really are thinking. But it seems to me almost like a mistake. They could have just left it be. They've obviously know the population will submit when it needs to submit. But every day it goes on. Like people are getting vaccinated now,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh no, you can't go anywhere. You
Yeah.
can't go down the pub. What do you mean? And they're like, well, I've done
The
everything you said.
holidays are the good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Like
you're
you
not
can.
going abroad. You're not going abroad this year. So people
And
are like, well, I've done everything you said. It's
yeah.
almost as if they just, all right, well, everything's back to normal now.
Yeah.
Seems like it seems a mistake almost
Oh, it does.
on their part.
You'd be kicking yourself if you've had it, because you'd be like, I've done all this just to tip your boat, and now you like throw me to the wolves. But yeah, going back to, as you said, when they dragged it on, it got to a period where these little restrictions were getting lifted. So you had like a month till this happened and 3 weeks till this happened. And then what it come down to was they'd run out of scare tactics and scare stories to fill up in the middle. So you was at kind of like a lull where you're like, okay, so still no one's dying. Like they can't really talk about exaggerated numbers no more. There's nothing new in the newspaper. Like, what are we actually doing right now? Everyone's alive. The sun's out. It just wasn't working. No one was feeling it no more because it was like it was obvious they couldn't even run with the bullshit stories anymore. It was obvious that had just like fallen through altogether anyway, and everyone was just kind of like looking around, going, hoping like there would be another like fear propaganda stat that they could hook onto and hang on to. The people like I used to argue with and have like certain disagreements with, even they just vanished, and it even felt cringeworthy for me to tag them in statuses and go, what's going on? Because I even felt sorry for them then, because I'm like, look, your government's left you high and dry. It's now actually embarrassing because you've got nothing to hang on to.
Yeah, it's there's that small element of the population obviously get a lot from it. There were the people that in Germany that would be ratting out Anne Frank, or in the Soviet Union throwing you to the to the local authorities. They must get some. I think I was in Waitrose a few months ago. Sounded quite middle class, but there was a woman who's like, oh, you need to stand on the spot. Like where you're queuing up. It's like you need to stand on the spot. It's the spot is just there for reference. I'm more than 2 meters away. She's like, it has to be on the spot. They're the people that she seemed a nice woman, but in any other period of history, she would be the person phoning up the Gestapo, being on. There's a couple of people you want to pop round to. So but by and large, most people I come across now just they whack the face mask on for symbolism, and they'll just keep their head down and maybe not say too much on social media. But when you talk to them, they're like, no, I'm 30 or I'm 40. It's not really going to touch me, to be honest with you. But people I know that've had the jab, especially the Pfizer one, they're coming into work and stuff, and they're completely like wiped out. I'm like, you're only 30 and you're being wiped out by this. They've got a really bad, like almost like a hangover. That's what most people seem to describe it as. And it's not just like one or two, like nearly everybody that I've spoken to has been wiped. I'm like, you may as well have just got COVID, because there's a 60% chance you wouldn't even know you've got COVID. But you're getting this jab and you're absolutely like wiped out. People are having days off work, and I've had the jab and I'm absolutely hammered from it. Like, you might as well take your odds and just.
And this is them doing it by choice.
Yeah, doing it by choice. Yeah.
And it just boggles the mind how they've got to that point where, and like knowing that it's still in experiments and experimental grounds until 2023 or something. And it's like, you are the experiment, and none of these people have asked questions. They've just relied on the doctor knows best. Doctor knows best, and it's like, if it's for your own health, they wouldn't need to bribe you. They wouldn't need to keep begging you, and there wouldn't be, certain like fears you're going to be rejected and ignored if you don't have it. When things like that come about, alarm bells have got to start ringing. Otherwise, I feel sorry for you. Yeah. It's very suspicious.
So overall, you don't think we're in the depths of hell yet? You think there's still opportunities for us to be a successful and free people in the UK and around the world?
I think we've given ourselves a lifeline. I think, I'm proud to be a part of it, but I think we had a good little mass awakening. I think they wanted the Great Reset, and we gave them the Great Awakening. And I think a lot of people have.
It seems people of some people that have like woken up. It's not just about this now. It's like people are talking about like money and what is money, what is paper money. You see Bitcoin like flying up because obviously people are thinking, well, this is costing like the lockdown's costing like £1 billion a day. That's money that is just created essentially out of nothing,
Out of thin air.
out of thin air. But it's like almost like triggering people question everything now. Well, no, hardly, very little taxes are being collected because such a large percentage of the population are either not going to the shops or not working. They're creating this, so people now, with the whole system is just like it's like the
Yeah.
emperor's got no clothes on. It's like, yeah, he hasn't got any clothes on. It's the whole the gig's up almost.
I've heard a lot of people are, also using their sovereign rights to call back on debts. So any debt letters that they're getting, they're sending back letters going, I am not this entity, corporate entity, I am a person, I am a sovereign right. And all of your letters state me as a corporate entity, so therefore this does not apply to me. And they've had all these debts wiped off. There's also, a few people who are not doing the census no more. And so they're refusing to cooperate with the census and all of that. There's also a huge knock-on effect of people refusing to pay the BBC license, which is also a good thing.
Oh yeah, I stopped that years ago. I think it's like 5 years ago. I stopped.
Yeah.
Knocked that on the head. Yeah.
Good man. Good man.
Yeah, but it's like it's any like I think that TV license thing now that's getting really like, some of the YouTube videos on that get like tens of thousands of so obviously people are only watching that because they want to cancel their TV licensing. Every time one of those videos goes up, that's thousands of people that have obviously cancelling their license. They're like, oh, I don't need to. If I only watch like YouTube or Netflix or whatever it is they watch, I don't need to.
It also doesn't help when like you look at like any big thing that's happened or like the opposite side of like the COVID argument, and you find out BBC are nowhere to be seen, and they are so wrapped up with the people at top. It's unreal. Like anyone who still watches BBC News, I feel for you because that's such a single-minded and one-sided point of view. You can't ever hope to have a good overall perspective of what news is watching BBC News. And so I think people are just starting to see the shit show for what it is and to see who actually is who when it comes down to it and who is actually for the people. Like, because you don't even have to be for the people, but just to be like an independent and open sourced media outlet that says what it is there rather than what they've been paid to say what's there, And I think that's what it's come down to. People are not falling for that anymore.
There's a big gap in the market for that, just like, honest reporting. There's very few outlets that will just give you the facts. Maybe put a little bit of spin on it. If they're right wing or left wing, that's fine. If they're pro Labour, pro Tory, whatever. But just to, especially with the BBC, sometimes they just literally don't report stuff. Even it could be like a fairly big story, and you look on some of the other channels, and they'll, especially like YouTubers that report the news every day, and the BBC are, you go on their front page, it's not even there. They're talking about Strictly Come Dancing or something.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your T-shirt.
Right. So this is Aquarius Academia.
Okay.
So what it is, the age of Aquarius recently, 2012, come from the age of Pisces. It's all about the veil of ignorance lifting, veil of knowledge.
Okay.
And what it is I do a lot of truthing kind of conspiracies and talking on my Facebook. And it kind of got to the point where I was just shit slinging a lot of, but they're doing this, they're doing that. Everyone in the government's paedophiles, everyone's this. And I thought, you know what? It's not about that now. We need to realise that we as human beings have this divine power to make our lives ourselves even better for what it is. And they say knowledge is power. And one of the 7 Hermetic principles is all is mental. Anyway, so I'm trying to create a little hub where we can, as a whole, go somewhere and learn to make ourselves better. So whether that be psychology, metaphysics, sociology, nutrition,
Okay, yeah.
mindset, off-grid natural living, holistics, alternative therapies. I'm just trying to put something together. And so I made a page. It's a Facebook page at the moment, Aquarius Academia.
Yeah, I'll leave a link in the description there if people want to click on that. They can come find you there.
Thank you. And I'm just trying to set up a web page at the moment, but with my mind ADHD, it's 100 miles per hour. Trying to
Yeah,
work that one out at the moment, it is mental. So, but yeah, that's where it's at. Got a little bit of a soil
it's out on the back. The original COVID debunker 33. What does it say above it? It's just a bit. It was a bit crinkled. The very top line. Oh, Kiki Stevo. That's you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
little nickname.
yeah.
I went for an apostrophe, not a degree, because I ain't a Freemason,
All right. Yeah,
and I am 33 years of age.
yeah. All right,
So
brilliant.
yeah,
So it sounds like you're doing some positive stuff then out there. People can check that out and
yeah.
follow you on there.
Because like what I think it is, yeah, is like what I've learned a lot through this is we need to realise that we ourselves hold the power of ourselves, and the less that we start giving our thoughts, ideas, and our minds to everyone else, and start realising that we can make our own judgment, we can listen to something, hold it inside, see if it resonates, and then make our own valid opinions and assumptions on it ourselves. We don't need to follow people. We don't need to be told by the news what's out there, what's not. We can see, we can know. And yeah, hopefully, you know, this Facebook page like just helps people find their own, you know, divine power. You know, I'm not religious. There's something out there. I think that we're all special parts of God,
Yeah,
consciousness.
definitely. People need to believe in something, whether it's religion or spirituality or some kind of meaning, like a higher purpose. I think you're just completely lost in life if you're just out there as an atom, as a group of
Mm,
atoms. There's people. I think people like that are generally quite lost. Never some sort of meaning or a higher purpose is generally most people. If they do follow that, they'll derive at least some sort. Even if it was a placebo, they'd be getting a form of happiness through it.
I think so. Yeah. There's a good saying. I fight you. I fight the world. I fight myself.
Yeah,
And so, you know, treat anyone as you want to be treated. And you know, like with this group, I just want people who like, you know, life's a journey, not a competition. And you know, we're all in this together. And if we all just help each other out, we're helping ourselves out at the same time. And if you keep going for me, you're going to end up losing out because, you know, you're going to take it all from yourself.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's what I aim to hope with this little page.
brilliant. That's a really positive bit to end on.
Thank you very
Looking for the
much.
higher purpose, staying positive. Hopefully, as a community, we'll all get through this and live long, prosperous, free lives after this. So, thanks for taking the time to do the interview. It's fascinating. The first one was fascinating. This one was just as fascinating too. It's good to hear that you're doing well and you haven't been broken by the system. You've done your jail. You're out. You're a free man now.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, hopefully the pubs will be open soon. They're
yeah.
open, but only that beer garden. Hopefully everything will be going forward. People will be taking a leaf out of your book, promoting freedom and liberty, and it should be good times ahead.
One last note. I have reached out to a high quality barrister, QC, not quality, a QC in London about
Yeah.
appealing my sentence. So
What would he what would be the outcome of that? Would they just give you some sort of like a reimbursement because obviously they would never get the time back?
I
Is it
think
like a
it'll be compensation, but it's not really that. I think I just want it, just like, you know, so people know it was like. To be fair, I enjoyed the 6 weeks away. It was what I needed at that
yeah,
time, and it actually helped help
But
me.
it'd be a nice thing if it did get overturned, and even not about, you can just put the money into the website or promote positivity elsewhere. You know, you don't just do, if you do it, knowing you'll do something positive with it. But I think the bigger thing would be, it's them sort of saying, we got this
Yeah,
wrong at the time. Yeah.
hopefully.
All right, brilliant. But thanks for joining us, and good luck with everything, and maybe we'll hear again from you soon.
Yeah, hope so.
All right, nice one.
Thank you,
See you later.
Jason. Cheers,
Cheers.
buddy.